opportunities that people were missing, that the salesman might not actually knock on the door. So one of the first things I started chasing was foundry sand. In Michigan here, there's a lot of foundry sand, and there's a lot of ways to repurpose it legally. You can use it in pieces of roads, or even, landfills will actually, at the time, they would buy it off of you instead of charging you because they needed day cover. So that's one of the opportunities I started looking at. And then the demolition too. We really kind of honed in on that demolition niche with asbestos, and we ended up, the company doubled over the next year doing that just on the waste side, but also being able to offer both the scrap and trash services to factories, so they only had to make one phone call to one vendor and kind of streamline it. Really kind of started taking up more in the area, and that's kind of what eventually led to the acquisition when I left. But so I did that for a while, and it was a hoot, being kind of in business, with one of your friends working for them, seeing their vision and building the company, how, they were all looking for. It was really exciting. What changed the most was what happened afterwards. I was out that morning, and it's just weird to think of things, but what eventually happened is my friend passed away in an accident, which left his spot, no one to fill that void that he had left in the company and just in general. It was a really rough time for a lot of us, but I stepped up and helped, get it to the point where we kind of decided that, it might be a good idea to not do this anymore. I kind of helped get it to that next level so that it could be acquired. That's something to say about like mental health with a lot of people too. You always got to be a little bit give people grace, because you never know what everyone's going through. Everyone there was going through a pretty rough time. I still talk to a lot of people. I myself was pretty rough too, from having to, one, have the loss of a friend, but going through all of that. That's what led to me, leaving and going to Quality Truck, which, they welcomed me with open arms. I had a great relationship with them, and I still do have a pretty good relationship with them till this day. But, that's kind of how that all started. At the time, I was kind of in a dark place, and, it was offering a change up. I could sell trucks, and what they did is they, would bring in these just mangled, wrecked trucks and rebuild it into a beautiful functioning truck again. And I really liked that. There's something to be said, because not everybody can do that. And it was a challenge. I definitely recommend. There's two things that I say every truck salesman should always do first before they start selling new vehicles and stuff. Is you should try to sell crappy box trucks, and you should try to sell rebuilt wrecked vehicles. If you can do those two things and do it well, you can sell anything. Because there's a lot of it teaches you to overcome a lot of objections, and just kind of navigate your way through on making the sale and closing the deal and the follow through afterwards. It takes a lot of time and effort in those. And I'll say it to this day, there's a million times more effort that goes into the sale of a crappy old beat up box truck than there is, a $300,000 roll-off truck. Because, the $300,000 customer is always going to be, it's just a different class. Nothing against it, but there's, usually, everyone's looking out to try to save a penny to buy that old box truck, and you've got about 150 leads a day coming in, and all they are is asking how cheap that you can get it. Whereas you might get 2 or 3 phone calls on a roll-off truck you have advertised for sale, and all 3 of those are serious buyers. It's just a matter of who gets their crap together first. So, you know, at the time when we were doing that, we had made the decision to change it up a little bit. This was right before COVID hit, and the rebuilt wreck market was kind of drying up. So it was kind of a decision to figure out what else was next. And that's kind of when we all focused in on Hooklifts. You know, I had the industry experience from before, and it was something I had always wanted to do. You know, something that my friend and I talked about even when we were in the business, that we should just build our own trucks and start building trucks for other people. You know, and we had a lot of pretty in-depth conversations about that because we had done, you know, a lot of our own work at that point. But, you know, that's kind of how that all started. You know, it was kind of crazy because, like, you know, multi-lift was just still a kind of new product at the time, you know, to the States. You know, in Canada, it's been around for a long time, and overseas, in Finland. But it was still really new because of it's a different style of product. You know, it's kind of the top tier of hook lifts, especially with, you know, like the Ultima series here. It's a whole different concept, and that's something I've always embraced, being a little bit ahead of everybody. So that's, you know, I kind of took to it really well, and, you know, we had quickly became the largest dealer for them. And, you know, it was all through, you know, networking and things like that. So that's why, you know, even when I was in the, you know, as in the hauling side of the waste industry, you know, you never burn a bridge. A lot of my customers today was my competition when I was in the hauling side of things. So, you know, that's something to be said there, you know, for that. But, you know, the decision for me to start my own thing was kind of more rooted in, you know, just the target markets. I've always been, you know, the waste and recycling industry is close to me. You know, that's my background. And so that's kind of why I decided to kind of hone in right on that. You know, and a lot of the larger roll-off trucks and hook lift trucks, you know, is kind of my target market. You know, I still work, you know, quite well with quality. We do a lot of stuff together, refer to each other, things like that. So I think it's really only helped both of us in a way. And yeah, so that's kind of how that all started. You know, I can sit here all day and kind of really go